In this video, I will describe the first chapter of Sun Tzu's The Art of War, called Laying Plans, and talk about examples of how to apply this philosophy to your game/goals and take examples from real life and esports. You will learn about the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method and discipline to help you become a better general in a metaphor, of course. So let's get it. Sun Tzu says the values of the moral law, heaven, earth, the commander, and method and discipline should be familiar to every general. He who knows them will be victorious. He who knows them will not fail. Now, let's go into the specifics. So, the moral law, Sun Tzu says here, the people will be in complete accord with their ruler, so that they will follow him regardless of their lives, undismayed by any danger. So this is a complete faith in a person who is more powerful than themselves, and they give themselves to him to achieve something greater. And in Sun Tzu's case, it's the victory in war. If you compare it to CSGO, it's the teammates who all believe in an in-game leader trying to do whatever is necessary for each other to win the game. They sacrifice for each other. They play together. They do all of these things even if they don't want to. Even if they know that they're just gonna run in and die, they're gonna do it anyway because they have faith that the tactics and the team cohesion will win in the end. It's the same if you compare it to if you work in a kitchen. In a kitchen, you have one person who is like the chef, right? And the chef, he's in command of all of the people in there, So that's you could call him the sous chef. Let's call him the sous chef now. The sous chef, he's his responsibility is to get the food out in a orderly fashion. When you see Hell's Kitchen, you see Gordon Ramsay, up at the plate, and then all of the chefs in the kitchen give him their foods, and then he has to accept it before it goes out because he has he's the last point of quality control before the customer gets the food themselves and consume it. Now, the principle of heaven, Sun Tzu says, it signifies night and day, cold and heat, times and seasons. Now, this is so the thought behind this, as I understand it, is you make decisions based on these variables. So you do this, you don't go to war in the winter, for example. You'd rather not do it, right? So there are so you are, the point of this is basically, for my understanding, is that you look at the overall uncontrollable variables, and then you act accordingly and act informed based on that. Now, the next philosophy or the next principle is called Earth. Now, Sun Tzu says it compromises distances, great and small, danger and security, open ground and narrow passes, the chances of life and death. Now, this is the pathway to victory. When you look at distances, so it's both when you are gathering resources from supply lines. It's when you take over new land. It's how you move. Should you go this way? Should you go that way? Should you go? Is it a great distance? Is it a small distance? Is it a dangerous road? Is it a safe road? Is it an open ground, or is it a narrow pass? Is the chance of going this way life or death? Okay, well, what are the risks? What are the rewards? Take it and look at the variables and look at the risks involved in this risk assessment and see, okay, well, is this how we're gonna do it? It's the same when if we talk about drafting in League of Legends. Okay, well, you draft this. Okay, do you draft what's in the meta? Do you draft something that's not in the meta? Do you have what is the variables here? Do you draft based on your opponents of what they pick? Okay, well, if they pick something, you pick something else that counters that specific champion. Okay, well, what about if you pick something that counters what the themes of that champion does? So they pick X, you pick Y, who counters the theme. Okay, well, what are the good things, bad things? Okay, or, you know, in that sense, it's the same with Counter-Strike. Okay, well, you play, you know, and then you'll see, okay, well, how should we win? What is the greatest, like, distance to victory in this round? You look round by round, so you say, okay, in this round, we need to do X strategy. And then in the round after, you say we do X strategy, but with this tweak, because they're gonna expect if they see the same grenades to do that, we do the same thing, right? So look at the variables and then do some risk assessment and say, okay, is it worth it, this risk? And the goal I'm gonna talk about that later, what this can do for you. Now, the commander, it's Sun Tzu says it stands for the virtues of wisdom, sincerity, benevolence, courage, and strictness. So this is the captain. This is the guy, the front runner, the charismatic person who people believe in, who the guys with power have given control. Like the guys in power in this sense is the organizations. The organizations give power to the coach. They have faith that the coach can do a reasonable job. He can do a competent job in acquiring players and coaching a team, right? Now, out of the coach, and then amongst the 5 players, there's one in-game leader. Now, the in-game leader is the commander in this sense. He's what, you know, drives the team forward. He works together with the general in this sense to make give you the greatest odds of winning, where he's on the field, going first in the war, you know, hands on, really. If you can let's say compare it to that, yeah, right. Okay, then there's method and discipline. Now, Sun Tzu says method and discipline are to be understood by the marshalling of the army in its proper subdivisions, the graduations of rank among the officers, the maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army, and the control of military expenditure. Now, this looks at, okay, how is the army working? What subdivisions are great? You know, like, what? So, like, you have it's a bit hard to compare to CS:GO, but if you say like, okay, well, how we have one AVP player, we have like everyone has their role, right? Even the riflers have different roles based on their positions to play. So, okay, so X player, he has these responsibilities. Okay, well, how great are they at these possibilities? They are the officers in this sense, okay? So, but who are they controlling with? They are controlling themselves. They are controlling their own skills, their own mindset of their own decisions, you know, of how to do X, Y, and Z when situations occur. So, how do you control this? How great are these assets in these officers, in these players, in that sense? And how do you control that? Okay, next up, well, how can you maintain, like, when it talks about maintenance of roads by which supplies may reach the army and the control of military expenditure? Well, it's like, okay, I'm looking at this as like both as like map control. So when you have like a supply line right, you need like a long road that's always safe, that you can travel with your supplies on safely and reach a point, right? That's I see it as in you have taken a piece of map control while you haven't lost another piece of map control. So you have banana. Let's say you have banana and submit, and then when you try and execute B, you don't lose submit again. You know, so you create these advantages, and you keep the advantages, and then you expand further. Now, Sun Tzu, he also, as a quote here, he said, the art of war is of vital importance to the state. Now, the state could be the organization, it could be the fans, it could be the tournament organizers, it could be Valve. You know, there are some great elements, some great things. It could be Riot. You know, it could be like these greater entities. Like, okay, well, when you have war, in this sense, it would be esport events. Then you gain profits, you gain expenditure, you gain exposure, you gain, money, basically. So Sun Tzu says here, when facing an opposing army, Sun Tzu asks these questions, and by these 7 considerations, he can forecast victory or defeat. Now, this can be looked as like anti-threading, like who is like or preparation in games, like. So number 1, which of the two sovereigns is imbued with the moral law? Who again, the principle of moral law. Who believes in their ruler so much that they will disregard their lives despite any danger? Who will follow their leader no matter what? Who has the faith of his players? Which in-game leader has the most faith of his players? Which coach has the most faith of his players? Which organization has the most faith from his coaches and his players, right? Number 2, which of the two generals has most ability? Which coach has the greatest ability? Who's better? Which in-game leader is better? Who, the tacticians, the overall like strategists, who are better? Okay. Number 3, with whom lie the advantages derived from heaven and earth? So heaven and earth, the variables of night and day, cold, all of the variables. Well, who has the advantages in these external variables? And the travel and the thing going forward, right? So number 4, on which side is discipline most rigorously enforced? Okay, well, you have and this is seen as a good thing here. So as for armies are greater, in this sense, like they have these great many people in them. Number 5, sorry. Which army is stronger? So which team is better? Which team is better, basically. Okay, and then 6, on which side are officers and men more highly trained? Well, it's again, looking at CSGO, the skill level. Who is better in the server? And then number 7, which army is there a greater constancy both in reward and punishments? Who loses most when winning or when losing? Who gains the most by winning? Who loses the most by losing, right? Now, what Sun Tzu says here is the general that hearkens to my counsel and acts upon it will conquer. Let such a one be retained in command. The general that hearkens not my counsel nor acts upon it will suffer defeat. Let such one be dismissed. Basically, in this sense, how I understand it is follow the coach, follow the in-game leader, or get lost, basically. Okay, well then, if the in-game leader is not following the philosophy of like the coaches or the organization, he should be dismissed, so there it goes both ways. Yeah. Now, Sun Tzu also mentions all warfare is based on deception. Hence, when able to attack, we must seem unable. When using our forces, we must seem inactive. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. When we are far away, we must make him believe we are near. In CSGO, this is basically faking. He's saying this in the 6th century. And then he says here, now the general who wins a battle makes many calculations in his temple ere the battle is fought. The general who loses a battle makes few calculations beforehand. Thus do many calculations lead to victory and few calculations to defeat. How much more no calculation at all? It is by attention to this point that I can foresee who is likely to win or lose. Who is most prepared when meeting in the server? Who is prepared for the fight? Who has anti-strat the most? Who has practiced the most? Who is just overall most prepared?